The question that we've been asked is how easy it is to do reconciliation in uLaw. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my PC banking here, right? This is a general account and how easy it is to reconcile it. I've downloaded my statement for the month of May already into uLaw, and I've entered a few expenses for June as well here. Like, it could be a combination, right? Like where you're not 100% sure what you've entered and what you have. So when I do the import into uLaw, right? Like, and I say, hey, this is my bank statement. uLaw already goes through and says, hey, these are already imported. You just need to take action on a couple of them, right? Like, so when you do that, what you can do is, like, I'll go from bottom, like, let's say Uber can, like, you just click here and say, hey, that's an office expense. The minute you type that, uLaw will like take that total and say, hey, that looks like a meal. You could override it, by whatever you want, but it kind of gives you like a head start to say, hey, that looks like a meal. What do you want to do? And you can just say, hey, you know what? I accept that, right? Like that looks pretty good, right? Like, for example, if there's a Fido mobile, you can just say, hey, that looks like another office expense, right? It immediately says, hey, that's utilities. Makes sense, right? Like, you can just hit the submit button. So what I'm going to do is like just go through and accept all of them one by one as office expense. You can also mark it as client expense, like, anything makes sense. In this case, like, this would be more like a Law Society of Ontario stuff, right? LSO portal submission. So you could just hit that, right? All I'm doing, as you see here, is like calling it an office expense. It immediately knows what this is. Like, I can say, hey, this is travel, right? And then I can hit the submit button, right? So it's pretty straightforward. So let me just do a few of them. So this one is like meals, right? Like, and I'm going to, this one could be a disbursement, right? Like, you could always say like, hey, this one looks like a client expense, right? And you can choose what matter it is. So in this case, I'll choose Sam sample, Sam versus Darren, and then it'll bring me this. It'll say like, hey, what do I need to do? So in this case, I can quickly look at the expense and decide what to do. So this one, I decided to take it up as 2372. So obviously you want to put here the same here, 20.99. I'm going to call it an application fee or something like that, like, and then, each of those fees paid on behalf of the client, and you can hit the submit button, right? So similarly, this one could be an office expense, right? Like, I'm just going to take that and it automatically calculated it. I'm going to hit it as an office expense. Another parking one, right? Like, I can say office expense and I can say travel, right? Hit the submit button. Left with a couple more. So office expense, submit. So as you see here, almost done with most of it, right? Like, and this is where a bookkeeper can really help you. Like, he or she can basically be your, person who can help you to say, hey, how do you categorize these things? Your assistant can do this. But the beauty is, it doesn't take a lot of time to actually mark these expenses, whether they're client expenses, like, for example, Bell Canada. The minute you say expenses, it should automatically tell you that this is like, what kind of expense you could actually take this one as, right? Like, I would actually take this one under the utility stuff, right? Like, you could say, hey, was this some kind of telephone expense or something like that, right? You could just mark it like that. And uLaw is pretty smart about these things, right? Like, it knows what kind of categorization it has to do. And once I've completed all of it, what I'm going to do is go through the reconciliation process. As you see here, I've completed all of the expenses that I had. My balances come down. Now I need to hit the reconciliation. Let's see how difficult or easy it is to do reconciliation in uLaw. So I'll just go here, go to general reconciliation, and as you see here, what I can do is I can basically watch my transactions, right? Like, so first of all, I need to enter my bank balance here. My bank balance, I know, is 4218.25. That's my bank balance. Now you see here, everything that I imported right in front of you came out as green. I can either go to and clear them one by one, or we have this new cool feature here called clear known transactions. You imported them, they are in the bank. All you need to do is just say, click like that, and you would get it all imported into uLaws. Now, there are a few ones that probably you didn't import it, but you put it like, now you just need to verify that. You can say, hey, that makes sense. That's my deposit. That makes sense, right? And the minute you kind of like, click that, it'll now give you a few more. As you see here, there are a few more here. Again, like, this is on the last page. You can clear the known ones, right? And the ones that you are pretty you're seeing it and like, it makes sense. I just clicked all of them and I agreed, and then immediately I got the reconciliation button, and then I just do the reconciliation. That's it. So as you saw here, like, uLaws is so quick. Like, all you need to do was import the bank statements. When you do the reconciliation, we highlight for you all the ones that we are sure in one click. You saw me like pick all those transactions, like, and we did the reconciliation in such a quick way. Now, the same thing is applicable for trust as well, right? If I would go and click my trust account, so let me do that in a second here. So reconciliation, and I'm going to click, you do my pool trust account. As you see here, transactions that you parked or you did before, like, uLaws will immediately give that to you. It'll give it to you and say this, and you can just clear it this way, right? And then, you just need to put your balance. So at this point, like, now that you have done this, right, like where you've checked all your known transaction, now these could be outstanding. They're not cleared yet, right? Like, so all you need to do is just put your balance. The minute you put your balance, you get your reconciliation, and then you're ready to do the reconciliation. As you saw here, whether you parked your previous reconciliation halfway and then came back to uLaws, or like, if you basically did bank imports and stuff like that, what uLaws new feature does is it brings that transaction, allows you to do something called clear known transactions. This is like a quick way for you to just like, clear all the ones that you already know and then progress. As you saw in the last 10 minutes, I finished not only my trust and my general reconciliation completely, right? Like in effect, we were able to complete the whole thing in a couple of minutes. That's the beauty of uLaws, where we have tried to improvise the UI and the bank import and your legal compliance so easily that we're able to bring everything together for you very quickly, such that you can be compliant with the Law Society and you can just move on with your day-to-day life. So a lot of new features coming up on the accounting side to make your life easy. Here you go, my trust reconciliation is complete now. Like, as you see here, like I put the bank balance. I did not clear any of them. It just like, brought it to my attention. And, obviously, like, you need to pay some attention to your trust listing. And then, you have everything ready for your Law Society compliance very quickly in uLaws. That's the beauty of all the new features that we are bringing in to make reconciliation faster and faster.